Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. I'm ready. What do you mean the mic's on? God damn it. Welcome back to the Den of Nerds. I am Josh, and we have great show for you today. A lot of interesting things going on out there in the nerdy world. There's one thing in particular that I'm really excited to talk about, and that is Elden Ring. Yes, the Elden Ring movie news from yesterday. And not only is this story real, but it has an element of drama as well, as every single person that talked about this and reported about it yesterday deleted all their shit, including their articles and their tweets. So, a little bit of a drama situation, dramatics, woo! So we'll talk about that. I know what's going on, and it's really cool. And I think this Elden Ring thing should happen. And I also think Alex Garland should do the movie. So we'll talk about all of that, and I think that's cool. Because within the context of just nerdy things in general, you know, it seems like video game stuff's on the rise. It seems like that's a big thing that the studios want to go after. And TLDR, Elden Ring is probably the greatest video game ever made. And even if you don't think it's the greatest video game ever made, if somebody says that they think Elden Ring is the best video game ever made, it's not so outlandish that you would call them out or whatever. Like, that's an opinion. People have that opinion, even people that have been playing games their whole life. So Elden Ring's cool. That's a big deal. I want to get into that. I want to talk a little bit about the Thunderbolts. There's some potentially bad news out there. There's some potentially good news out there. What's going on with the Thunderbolts? I wanted to give a little bit further context on that because I think we went pretty hard on Thunderbolts and on Marvel on Monday. And so, look, there's more information out there, and I've thought about it a little bit more too, so we'll get into that. There are reports, ladies and gentlemen, of Marvel Studios' new plan, the new one, the newest new one, that they have a new version of the new plan, and there's some stuff coming out from Jeff Snyder and others to indicate what that new plan is. I'm going to be honest with you. Some of this I don't like, some of it I do. And I do think it solves maybe one of the biggest problems that they have, and that is fatigue. So we will get into that, and that'll be fun. We also have bad DCEU, I guess DCU news. Oh no, more trouble in James Gunn land. It's not going well. What the hell? What happened with the Clayface movie? We're gonna talk about it. It's actually pretty interesting. So, should be a good show today. I'm excited, and as always, we'll break into Q&A later on in the show, and I think it's going to be a good Q&A section. I would imagine you guys will have some input, some things to add to maybe all of these stories. It's a really interesting time in pop culture, you know, comic book movie stuff, video game movie stuff. Can the DCU come in and help cape shit right at a time when it really needs it? We're gonna get into all of that and more today. I do want to say, just as far as show notes are concerned, obviously missed the show yesterday, had some really cool meetings, and some good things are happening behind the scenes. But I wanted to say that we will be doing a Nerdvenger stream tonight, a member stream. And I had originally said, I think on Monday I said I wanted to do a Marvel Rivals stream. Unfortunately, we're going to have to change that. I want to do just a update stream, a little bit of like a Q&A, more casual stream, because I want to talk about some of the things I'm planning, some of the things I'm going to be doing. I have good news and I have bad news, but I want to talk about like a new direction and some things that I have going on. So we'll get into that tonight at 7:30. On the member stream, and then I'll talk about it publicly probably within the next couple of weeks or months. But yeah, some things are changing. Times they are changing. And I want to talk about it. I'll give you a little tease. It's Warhammer. I'm going all in on Warhammer, but you already knew that. But I have some details about it, and I'll talk about that tonight at 7:30. Yeah, this is my new plan. This is my new plan. It's the newest of the new plans. Yeah, no, it's time to jump ship. Okay, anyway, let's get into the news statement. There's some really fun stuff going on, and I want to begin with the Elden Ring news. So let's get into this. This is fascinating for a couple of different reasons. So check this out. Maybe you saw this pop up yesterday. By the way, I'm just curious. Did any of you see this pop up on your timeline? Did any of you see any articles or anything with regards to this? This story is that an Elden Ring movie is reportedly in the works at A24 with Alex Garland set to direct. Now, that last part is not exactly true, and I'll get more into that in just a second. But did any of you see this? Did any of you see this pop up? A lot of you are saying no in the chat. Some people saw it. Okay. So this is kind of interesting because there's a story within the story. And that is, if you go to click on this exclusive here from Nexus Point News, it's gone. What happened? We couldn't find this page. It's gone. On top of that, every single mention of this from various accounts that are directly related to Nexus Point News, they're gone too. There was another gentleman, I think it was Apocalypse Horseman, I think was the scooper. I forget who it was, but another scooper actually scooped this around the same time. And that scooper has also deleted every mention of this story, okay? Now, when I saw this pop off, I was like, yo, this is really interesting. Now, the reason this is interesting, because I want to get into what happened and why everybody deleted all their shit. Spoiler alert, this is real. But let me give you some context. If you don't know anything about video games, or I think, you know, we obviously have a lot of Marvel fans and Star Wars fans that watch our show that are in the community. Elden Ring is a video game that came out, man, I want to say 3 years ago. And I believe it was Game of the Year that year. It obviously should have been Game of the Year. Elden Ring was a phenomenon. Now, this studio had been making a lot of different games, and even within that sort of genre, they had sort of made claim to how they could do that type of genre and that type of game. And so they had successes prior to this game. But Elden Ring was their absolute breakout hit, changed the perception of the studio. Honestly, a lot of people say it kind of like changed gaming because it was such a monumental success. And again, as I said at the top of the show today, this is a game that's so good and it's so respected within the community of gamers that if you say you think Elden Ring is the best game of all time, or if you think Elden Ring is your favorite game, a lot of people would get it. You know, that gets a nod. Like, that's a take. That is a fair take to have. It is that good. Couple interesting things about Elden Ring. It had a collaboration with George R.R. Martin. George R.R. Martin came in and helped this studio at a very early stage develop their lore. And the lore of this game is really interesting. It's like, you know, gods and demigods and, you know, mortal sons of gods and all of those things, like heroics, all these really interesting things, betrayal, power. It's really interesting. And on top of that, you know, one of the things that I really liked about the lore in Elden Ring is that it's not very straightforward. Like, you could basically play the game without understanding the depth of lore at all. You're just like, oh, spooky bad guy person. Oh, spooky creepy lady person. Like, all these things. It's actually, if you really want to know the lore, you actually have to, like, play the game with a different lens. And you have to try to break down these little clues and stuff like that. And I've watched big videos, like hour-long videos, because, you know, I'm a massive nerd. I've watched, like, hour-long videos breaking down the lore of Elden Ring. It's actually fascinating. So you have here a game that has this incredible name recognition. It is a massive success. Like, the units this thing has sold, they're absurd. I don't know what they are, but they're ridiculous. There's been expansions to the game that are doing quite well. They're doing a new expansion of the game right now. Bandai just put the game on half off. I wonder if this is to do with the story, if this was already planned, but the game's half off, I think, right now as well. So this is a huge potential IP. Now let's talk about A24. You A24, in a world where Hollywood is kind of struggling and hasn't adapted well to, changing consumer behavior, streaming, all these different things, A24 has kind of found a nice little spot within the conversation of the movie industry. And technically not incredibly profitable, still not like a breakout massive success or anything like that. But because they, go with lower budgets and they go with genres like horror often that are, able to be done with lower budgets, A24 has had a pretty successful trajectory as a studio. Now, one bump in the road within that trajectory was the Civil War movie with Alex Garland. And that movie, I think, and I've heard other people, kind of have this take as well. That movie was an attempt by A24 to break out of the sort of indie horror bubble that they had been in. They're looking for more commercial success. They want a big hit. And I think they thought that Civil War, which I never even saw. I mean, that movie just seems so silly, and the concepts and even the map, none of it made sense. But it's where that meme comes from, where you're like, what kind of American are you? Or whatever, right? That movie. I think the studio, and from what I understand, they really wanted that to be a breakout hit, and it was not. It did not do well for them, at least as far as I understand it. So this move with the Elden Ring license and making an Elden Ring movie feels like a move from the studio to get what they've been after. And that would be something with more mass appeal that could be done in an A24 style with potentially an A24 budget that would then turn around and have much more accessibility than a lot of things that they have done so far. So I see the logic and I like it a lot. And I think A24 is a great fit for it. Like, one of my favorite A24 movies is The Green Knight. I really like that movie. It's very bizarre. But it's incredibly well made and like well crafted. And it's I really like that film. So I think if you do like a dark fantasy thing, almost in the styling of that kind of a film, I think it could really work. And Elden Ring, like that, you have the ability to do that and do that well. So with all of that being said, let's kind of circle back to what's the story within the story. Why did everybody delete their shit? Well, as far as I understand it, basically, a lot of people jumped the gun, and Alex Garland is in talks, perhaps even in final talks, to direct this movie. And the reason all the scoopers and everybody backed off of this story is because there was pressure. I don't know where the pressure came from, but it was essentially pressure saying, hey, you might screw this deal up if you talk about it, okay? And so that's why, from what I understand, that's why everybody kind of backed off of the story, meaning that the story's real. Garland is in talks, and here's my thing. I want to, in whatever small way I can, try to say Alex Garland should absolutely do this. If Garland's on the fence about this, and look, maybe there's other reasons why, I think this is a chance to do something that could actually work as opposed to Civil War. And you'd get a lot of fans that would actually be like interested and passionate and excited about it, which is maybe something they haven't really had in a large quantity at A24. Like, again, we're talking about maybe the greatest video game ever made. That's going to bring a lot of people and their attention to this project. Perhaps this is part of why he's hesitant to do it. Maybe that's just not something he's looking for. And we've heard this before from different directors and whatnot. Like, for instance, Denis Villeneuve has talked about how he would not never do Star Wars because of the expectations, because it's already kind of formed and maybe something to do with the fans, right? So IP genre, franchise genre, yeah, it comes with some baggage. It comes with some problems. All of us that are watching the show, right? We're the problem. But I think there's a lot of gold in this hill, and I think this would be great. So I hope that Alex Garland does it. Now, here's the thing. Even if Garland doesn't do it, I would hope that A24 would understand what they have. If they have somehow secured the rights to this, I mean, this is really potentially a golden goose. So I would hope that at least they understand how valuable this is. And if Garland drops out, get somebody very high profile. I think it's worth spending on a big visionary for this. That's what I think. And I really think that might be all you need. I think you could cast complete unknowns. Again, the movie, it's already the most popular video game of the last few years. I don't know that you need A-list celebrity draw or anything like that. So I would go after the visionary. Del Toro would be an incredible fit. Peter Jackson would be an incredible fit. What's the guy that made that the Viking movie? And he's made like The Witch, I think. I'm blanking on his name right now. He would be an incredible fit. There's a lot of people that have been doing horror stuff. You know what I mean? Again, because I think that horror kind of fits in a little bit better to the current Hollywood system. And, basically the risk of Eggers. Correct. Yes. Robert Eggers. I think he would be an incredible fit. So I think there's a lot of good potential fits here. And I'm just excited, man. You know, like, I'm just excited. Like, this is a fun time for me. Of course, I love Marvel and I love Star Wars. And we're about to get into that kind of stuff because I still think there's a lot of hope for both of those franchises. As down as I was on Monday about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I actually think Marvel might be fine, and we'll talk about that. But I also am kind of excited to see what the next big thing could be. And if it really is video games, and you're looking at Nintendo and Sony doing Zelda, right? I mean, that's a big deal. That's also fantasy, has some dark fantasy vibes. Elden Ring, which literally has a George R.R. Martin connection built into it, I think that's very viable. And so I'm really interested. Is one of these video game franchises going to become the one and be kind of like the MCU, and then you'll have like the Sony verse and like the shitty DC verse and like, branch, or are there multiples that could be very strong? What exactly is this going to look like? I'm not sure. I'm just glad that it's not all going to be Minecraft, guys. You understand? Like, because Minecraft is carving a certain path right now, and that's fine. That's okay. But I need other paths. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to need a little something different than Chicken Jockey to get me into the theater. So I am excited that guys, this is so, again, I don't know. Do you guys understand how cool this is? I'm not seeing enough movement. You know what I mean? Like, chat, do you understand how cool this is? This is really fucking cool, man. A24 is hot right now. They're doing good work over there. Elden Ring is awesome. It's the next big thing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I seriously think it would be cool, man. I'm excited to eventually check this movie out and to follow along as more stuff comes out. Okay, so that's the news with regards to Elden Ring, Alex Garland, and all of that. Okay, now I have a few thoughts on the Thunderbolts. Can we talk a little bit about the Thunderbolts, guys? Now, look, on Monday, you guys were so negative about Marvel and the Thunderbolts and all of that. I mean, it was a little exhausting, to be honest. Like, I really enjoyed the movie, and I'm trying to be positive about the movie. And, it's just tough. I mean, you guys are like, I get it. You're fans, you're passionate, but goddamn, like, y'all are going real hard on this movie. So, a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to Thunderbolts here, okay? So, number one, this happened off stream. We didn't talk about this on Monday, and we didn't stream yesterday, so we didn't talk about it. Unfortunately, the numbers for the Marvels were even lower. The number for Thunderbolts were even lower than initially reported. When we spoke on Monday morning, we were talking about 76 million domestic. That was over by like 2.1, 2.5. So you're talking about 74 million. Okay, so it had, and this is rare, by the way. It's actually rare that the Sunday numbers come in lower because usually trends are kind of what they track, and then you kind of have a projection early on Sunday, and then you get the official numbers like early Monday. So that means, chat, that it had a worse Sunday than anticipated and lower numbers than were even reported. That's tough. Okay, there's kind of no way around it. That's tough. Then you have on Monday, pretty rough news. Now, there is some good news coming, so just hold on here. But Luis Fernando reported on Monday, rough day for the Thunderbolts, which scored the third lowest Monday in the MCU's history after New Avengers crossed 5 million yesterday, with Florence Pugh seeing a 71.9% drop from Sunday into Monday. So that the reason that's bad again is because even Sunday was lower than we thought. So a bad Sunday and a bad drop in a Monday, that's tough, right? Okay, so it's looking bad. Now, all of a sudden, and I don't think Luis, let me check. I don't think Luis has tweeted about this yet. Maybe he has. Let me just double check here. Okay, here we go. He did tweet about it. So let's get his take on this. I like his takes on these things. He said, many moviegoers were just waiting for the right price to give Thunderbolts a chance at the box office. The New Avengers has shown a strong reaction on Tuesday, discount day, with Florence Pugh grossing 7.4, up a strong 48% from Monday. I guess that is pretty crazy. That's an 86.7 cum, should cross 100 million on Friday. Okay, so look, fair is fair, and we're going to try to be fair about this. Rough Sunday, rough Monday, very strong Tuesday. Now, a couple of things could be going on here. As Luis points out, and as many people have pointed out online, discount Tuesday. Apparently that's a thing. We're also broke that we're going to need a discount Tuesday. Here's an idea. Discounts throughout the whole week. What a world. But anyway, so discount Tuesday, yeah, we're a lot of people saw it on Tuesday. Anybody here do that, by the way, just out of curiosity? Any of you guys waiting for Tuesdays to see movies? I'm pretty curious. So, fair where fair is fair. Let's be fair. Still not great, but maybe a little bit better than what we thought on Sunday and Monday. And it's also possible that just constraints within the economy and overall have made it so consumer behavior is adjusting. And so some of the trends we're seeing within the last couple of years are not necessarily directly tied to Marvel, its quality, and things of that nature. Okay, so that we'll be totally fair with regards to that. I still gotta be honest here. I don't think this is going well. I could be wrong. It could uptick, and a lot of these things could be working, because another factor for the Tuesday could be this New Avengers marketing. And I think right now there's a big question of, like, is this a good idea or a bad idea? Like, is the New Avengers thing and this whole, like, we're ripping off the signs, we're changing the billboards, which, by the way, that costs money. Nobody's doing that for free. Is that good or bad? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? And if we see a really strong weekend too, I will probably say, hey, maybe it works. Maybe that's a good idea. Good idea. But I got to tell you, from where I'm standing right now, I don't think it's a good idea. And it takes me all the way into a point that I'm trying to make, that I think the marketing department of Marvel and Disney is making Marvel's problems worse. For me personally, there were some super off-putting things over the past couple of years, like the use of Avengers footage for movies like the Marvel in their trailers, the use of archival Thanos lines for Quantumania, even stuff more recently, like there was news that dropped over the past couple of days that Iron Man himself gave 2 thumbs up to Dominic Thorne to become Ironheart or something. And to me, all of this stuff is actually having the opposite effect of what they probably desire. And I think it's a big part of why general audiences are checking out. Because, again, although this stuff bothers me, I'm still showing up for all the movies. But I can't help but think that your average consumer or moviegoer would have the same experience I'm having, with less connection to the studio and the characters, therefore maybe even more angry or turned off by this marketing campaign. And I think the New Avengers thing, like, ultimately, here's what it really means to me. If they're going to get this peacockish, if they're going to get this crazy with the marketing, then the degree to which the movie is a failure makes them look sillier and sillier, right? So the New Avengers thing, again, it could work, it could be great, but if this movie bombs, like, let's say this movie doesn't even get to Captain America numbers, then they just look silly, and it looks like they're just doing stuff for marketing, and it also looks like they're kind of cringe and out of touch. I just really think it's having a negative effect on the brand, and it might be better to like, because I guess what I'm trying to say is, if they're in a stage of rebuilding and they can kind of accept that, like, for instance, Thunderbolts just might not make money in theaters, but they're hanging their hat on its quality. They think it'll do much better on streaming and digital. And they just think in general they need some kind of a win and some kind of positive reception within the fan base. Then I think that's fair, but it also kind of feels like they're railing against that by trying to make people think it's the Avengers. So it's like, which one is it, right? And I think within modern fandom and just like online discourse, fans tend to really appreciate I guess I want to say sort of self-deprecating humor, but really it's like holding the L. Fans really appreciate it when you just hold the L. When Deadpool and Wolverine was, coming out, there were some quotes thrown around like you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that the last few Marvel movies have not lit the world on fire the way that others had. That was Sean Levy's comments, right? And like other comments like that. And it just kind of made you feel like, okay, cool. They're being chill about this. And I think if you try to act, and this is a Disney thing, this is actually like old school Disney, where they're just going to act like nothing's wrong and literally just hit you with propaganda until you forget about it. That's like their style. And I think it's uniquely ineffective in the modern environment. And I think it really does ruffle people's feathers the wrong way. And I think it's probably something they should stop. Because, for instance, when Doomsday rolls around, or Fantastic Four, like, Fantastic Four. If Fantastic Four rolls around and they're like telling you they're the new Avengers 2 or some shit, right? Does that actually help at this point or hurt? Like, that's the question, really, is like, it almost feels like if you were to do something similar that you did to Thunderbolts to Fantastic Four, I feel like now that actually brings a negative association where you're like, okay, so this is just another Thunderbolts, which sucks. So I don't know. I feel like they shouldn't be doing this. And that kind of brings me to the Ironheart thing, okay? And look, there's some good news coming. Don't worry, there's good news coming. There's some good news coming, okay? Relax. But let's talk about Ironheart for a second. I mean, again, they're doing this thing. You know, Dominic Thorne's out there talking about how RDJ gave her 2 thumbs up in this. It's like, okay, like what does any of this mean? And Ironheart itself, I mean, this show wrapped 2 years ago. It had a completely different MCU when it was created. I don't think Marvel's confident in this show. It feels like they're borderline stealth dropping it next month and just putting it out there to die. And for me, it's like this. Like, I am not watching that show. And Marvel won't cancel some of these shows. And so instead, I have to cancel them for myself. Meaning I'm not watching these shows. And that will actually be to the benefit of my experience as a Marvel fan. I will go easier on all the other movies and projects and everything if I don't have to do all this homework for the rest of the year and watching all these films and these obscure characters and people and things that I don't care about. So I don't know, man. I have a lot of concerns here about how things are going. There's some signs of life with Thunderbolts. There's the potential for the Marvel fandom to come together on this. And I think Marvel in general is really hanging their hat on the quality of this thing. Now, I got to say, within the scope of this whole conversation of Thunderbolts, Marvel, and all of that, I kind of want to shift into some comments made by Jeff Snyder in his newsletter last night. Okay? So Snyder's been talking, because I think right now everybody's really talking about like Thunderbolts and Marvel and like, oh no, like what's going on? Is it over? Is it not over? What's the deal? Well, yesterday Jeff Snyder put out a newsletter and he talked about a lot of things in it. He talked about the Thunderbolts movie and he talked about some things he heard about Kevin Feige. Here's one of the things that was said yesterday. Vision is reportedly set to be the final Marvel TV series to feature major characters from the films. And if you read Jeff's newsletter about this, what he's saying is there will be moments in the shows where some of the big characters and the big events are referenced, kind of like how Spider-Man was sort of referenced in the Daredevil show. But Marvel is no longer taking movie characters or big characters. He uses the word major. Dude, Vision ain't major at all, but whatever. This will be the last time that they're doing big characters in the shows. Okay? Now, I want to explain why they're doing this and kind of translate for you what I think is going on here. They're basically giving up on the Disney Plus shows. And you might not agree, and technically there will be more shows, but just hear me out on this. The original intention for Disney Plus was to use the streaming shows as an important part of the storytelling for the overall universe. Look at the characters they made shows about. WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki. Then, what did they do? Hawkeye next or Miss Marvel? I think it was Miss Marvel. Because, I mean, think about how... Guys, do you know how much Kevin Feige wants Miss Marvel every goddamn where? He killed her in the comics just to make an event where she comes back in the X-Men. He literally had Iman write Miss Marvel comics. And Miss Marvel is in the Marvel. She's going to be in Champions. Like, dude, come on. So think about that. Just think about what I'm saying here. You loved Loki? Yeah, I love Loki. That's an irrelevant point, Immortus. And this is why I don't look at chat. Or I shouldn't. Literally ever. But I will look when we get into Q&A. So I can address your misrepresentation of my points later on. The point is, this is what they're doing. They used to think they could use the streaming service to actually use stories to continue to tell the entire story of the MCU with really important characters. Every character that showed up in the first year of Disney Plus shows is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Most of them are going to have a really important role in Avengers Doomsday. So think about it. Just think about what that was. Kevin was like, we're going to pop off in these fucking movies. And you know what else? We're going to pop off in these shows. We're doing a WandaVision show. 2 Avengers, the first show. Oh, 2 more Avengers. Show number 2, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Another, well, not really Avenger, but he's going to become Avenger Prime, and that's going to be crazy. And the next villain of the entire fucking phase, that's in our next Disney Plus show. So they've gone from that to... we are not going to do major characters in the show at all. And what Jeff says in his article is he expects more shows like Wonder Man. And maybe you'd get 1 or 2 shows a year. So what that also means is that Marvel's plan going forward is to not use the streaming shows to set up and tell their big important parts of the story. This has to do with the homework idea. That's a part of his thinking too, I'm sure. And so the main characters, the big story will be told in the movies. So we're basically, without really admitting it, we are giving up on Disney Plus as a way to actually expand the MCU. Now it feels like these shows will literally just be smaller, less necessary things with maybe potentially cool characters and maybe potentially cool takes, but they will not include big characters. They're not really important. They're not going to push the overall narrative. They're going to perhaps reference the narrative, reference the big characters, but that's what it is. Now, I will be real with you. There's a part of me that doesn't like this because, throughout the last couple of years with Disney Plus shows, one of the arguments I've had is like, well, dude, if you really wanted to go for it, you would do bigger characters, or you would do a show like Nomad with Chris Evans putting all of the stones back, right? Because that is a show that's so big, such a appointment television draw, that I think it can compete with all the big shows out there. Any big show right now, any of the new shows on streaming that have popped off, I think a Nomad show with Chris Evans would 100% compete with those shows. But what you see in the thinking here from Feige is it is not worth doing that because it comes at the cost of the theatrical experience and the overall narrative, which he's basically admitting was a large part of the draw to go out and see these movies. So this is actually a super big recalibration. And I wonder if even Jeff understands how big this actually is. Because if this is real, this indicates a complete 180 of their thinking about Disney Plus shows versus the movies. Okay, so that's like one part of this whole story here. And going back to like Ironheart and stuff, like, to be honest with you, I think, you know, it really depends on what the other shows are. I don't want to be so preemptive that I'm like, well, I guess I never have to watch a Disney Plus Marvel show ever again. I don't want to necessarily say that, because you could find a cool angle with a weird character that might potentially have some draw for me or something, right? But it kind of seems like this does end the idea of big Marvel Disney Plus shows, which frankly, maybe it never should have happened. Maybe that fatigue is so bad. You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. Now, there's another element here. There's another part of this. The other part is that the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four will reportedly appear in multiple upcoming MCU films. Now, what does that mean? That means, obviously, Doomsday. That means potentially Spider-Man 4, which we have talked about Spider-Man 4. Crazy rumors about Spider-Man 4. I want to chime in on that. It means potentially Secret Wars, but really the more important conversation, and you can see also within Jeff's article, he's talking a lot about X-Men. This probably means X-Men. It means going into the next X-Men Mutant Saga that these characters, the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, will be in, or I guess New Avengers, will be in multiple upcoming MCU movies. Now, think about this. Does this then explain a little bit more of why Marvel is still hanging their hat on Thunderbolts? Meaning, I mean, Bob Iger literally talked earlier today in the investor call. He literally said today that Thunderbolts is a representation of the new vision of Marvel. And it's New Avengers marketing, and it's the, you know, like, so they're really hanging their hat on this movie. And look, ironically, as much as I'm trying to be fair here, but like, this isn't going well for them. I will say that if you were ever going to just take a stand and say, no, these are our characters moving forward, we have to use these actors, these characters, so that this actually feels organic and connected, you have chosen wisely. Even though the success is not apparent right now, I fully believe that this is a good idea, that these are the right characters. I love the Thunderbolts movie, by the way. I don't know if I've said that enough. You know, I think I tend to focus on the analytical things, the problems, and so some people get an impression that, like, I don't like the movie. I love the movie. I love these characters, and I wish these characters had been the bet earlier on in Phase 4. Things might be different. Fantastic Four also being a part of this, that's really interesting. And so you can see how there is a sort of structure to all of this where it is sort of about building in the value of Thunderbolts, which is still in theaters right now, and also Fantastic Four, which is the next one. And you really want people to basically say, oh shit, like these are our guys. Like, this is our thing for the next few years. So let's check it out. I would also say, and I'm not trying to be rude here, but these are also way more affordable actors. I'm going to be honest with you. That's probably a part of the calculus too, because the Fantastic Four in particular, we know there were other people in the conversation that wanted more money. And I think part of the calculus for Disney was like, we need kind of affordable Fantastic Four family because we want them to be around for a long, long time. Right? So again, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm happy about this situation, but like, let's just be honest. Like, that's what it is. Kevin is thinking about his next thing. They're about to spend all the money they have on these next two Avengers movies, and they paid RDJ $100 million. He's going to play like 4 characters, so they're going to get their fucking money out of that. But after all of that's done and the multiverse goes away, you can't have the OG Avengers playing multiple characters. That won't fly. It could save your ass, and I think it actually will. Like, I actually do think that's going to work. You know? Here's the thing, though. It's about what happens after that. It really is about the X-Men. And from what we've seen with the rumors of the X-Men, they're going after younger, less developed actors. More affordable, might I say. Because remember, when Hemsworth was like making the movies before Avengers and before everything blew up, he was making like $100,000 a movie, maybe $200,000 a movie. Like, he was making nothing, dude, comparative to Downey and some of these other. So like, Marvel is trying to set up the future, and unfortunately this is just a part of the business. Like, can we afford motherfuckers to be in movies for 5-6 years? You know what I mean? That's just a part of the business. Now, something else that was interesting in Jeff's article, so there's a story out there about Hawkeye season 2. And by the way, Jeremy Renner, I hope this message makes it to Jeremy Renner, because you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever here. So, story out there right now that Jeremy Renner was offered half the money for season 2 as he was for season 1 of Hawkeye. Okay? And that's obviously crazy. Nobody thinks that's good. And he even talked about it on a podcast recently. He said that he declined it. Now, he is in the Avengers movies, and I'm assuming he got paid proper for that. But according to Jeff, this was done intentionally. Disney lowballed him intentionally because they wanted him to say no so that they could follow through on their plan to no longer have big, important characters in their Disney Plus shows. Now, some people think they're going to just do the show with Kate Bishop without him. I actually don't think so. I don't think they're doing Hawkeye at all. I think they want a new slate, a new idea. I think they want new, lesser-known characters for Disney Plus shows. I think that's what's happening. And Jeff's reporting makes sense within that context, right? So, look, we're currently, we're in this discussion, and I think maybe I have it pulled up here. Yeah. So we're in this discussion right now, after Thunderbolts, going into weekend 2, trying to figure out what the deal is with that. Marvel's shuffling things around. They're really planning for the future. And, they have these big Avengers movies. We talked about the Wall Street Journal. By the way, dropped that big video yesterday, like 20-minute video explaining the fall off of Marvel. I think it's a really good video, very informative. You should go check it out on the main channel. But within this entire context, right, we had Bob Iger, which, by the way, Disney stock today, at least the last time I saw, is soaring. So Disney had an investor call today. They're up over 10%, at least they were. And that has to do with a couple of things. There's a new park going into Dubai. But Bob Iger also came out and said that the film slate that they have in the next 18 months is maybe the strongest it had been since 2019. And 2019 was when Disney had $9 billion grossing films in a one-year period. And some of the films he's talking about are the next two Avengers movies. It is Spider-Man. It's things like Lilo and Stitch, Avatar. There's some other bangers in there as well. But Marvel shifting and going into really big IP, Star Wars finally doing movies. They've got a pretty solid film slate for the next 18 months. And so they have these plans. So, look, to wrap this all up, just to kind of give you where I'm at with all of this, I still think it's fair to point out that the performance of Thunderbolts is obviously an indication of how bad things had gotten for Marvel and where the damage level is at. And I think that's fair. And it might lose money still to this day. It might be considered a flop. Like, a lot of what I talked about on Monday is still technically valid. But they're hanging their hat on the quality of the film. And they know how bad it is. They have a plan to get out of it. And I do think they have good ideas. I actually, even though I don't love this whole, like, basically we're done with Disney Plus shows, like, I actually think that will work because it'll get to a point where we miss the movies a little bit more, where we really like, because you just need to recreate what was going on before, which was when the movie came out, it was an experience. You went to go see the next chapter in the Marvel story, and you went to go see how that universe was developing, what new characters were going to show up, all that sort of stuff. They need to recreate that. And I do think the Disney Plus constant churn of just content, character, content, like that really did hurt them. So I think that's a good change. It will work. I think the Avengers movies are going to go hard. They're going to be spectacle. They're going to bring a lot of people back to Marvel. It's really all about how does the X-Men saga pop off. And if the X-Men saga is Fantastic Four characters and the new Avengers, which is like Thunderbolts and Sam's team, and they're in a lot of the movies, but they're X-Men movies, because I think it's going to I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be X-Men movies that have the new Avengers. We might be all the way back. Like, that actually could work. And within, because it'll kind of feel like this. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. The rest of the year is going to be sloppy. These projects, these Disney Plus shows, not great. Unless some of them are surprises. You'll have to let me know. I'm not going to watch them. San Diego Comic-Con and Fantastic Four, that's where the juice lies. And I think that movie's going to be incredible. And I think the promo is going to be incredible. And then throughout the year, we'll sort of live and breathe off of Doomsday. The promotion for that, the coming trailer, all of that sort of stuff, okay? And I think there'll be a lot of excitement going into Doomsday. And from there, they have to hold that excitement. They have bangers. Daredevil Season 2 looks legit. Charlie Cox is out there talking shit on the courtroom episode. I'd love to hear it. I just think there's a lot of signs that there are things turning around. Good things are happening. And we have a banger of a slate next year. Spidey 4 needs to be solid. I think it will be. Secret Wars needs to be solid. And then it's like we live and breathe by that first X-Men movie. So despite everything, like, look, Jeff he put this into his newsletter. He said, if I were a betting man, I would bet on Marvel Studios to be fine, to make it out of this. And frankly, I agree. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat how rough things are. But if you're just honestly asking me, like, if this is the terrain and this is the plan, are you optimistic? Yes, I would literally say yes, I am. It might be a year. You know, it might be 6 months. Like, I don't know. It might feel like it happened really fast, but it almost feels like this next year is going to be kind of what it's been for the past couple of years. Like, we're so back, it's so over. We're so back, it's so over. We need to get off of that roller coaster ride. And I think that could happen starting with Doomsday. So that's the report on all of that, ladies and gentlemen. Probably a longer segment there, but important nonetheless. We'll get into Q&A about it. I'm sure you have some thoughts. Okay, let's talk about DC. Let's talk about DC. Things are happening, and they're not good. Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Clayface. Y'all over here at Clayface? Clayface is a movie developed for Warner Brothers. And according to Jeff Snyder, that thing is getting a page 1 rewrite by the writer of Drive. And apparently that page 1 rewrite is already done. And you might ask, why does that matter? Page 1 rewrites? Those things happen. Marvel does page 1 rewrites all the goddamn time. When's the Blade movie coming out? Well, listen to this. Let's do it. James Gunn reveals how Mike Flanagan's DCU Clayface movie got green lit. Published late last year. James Gunn never intended to greenlight a DC Universe movie centered around the Batman villain Clayface. I'm going to read that first line one more time. James Gunn never intended to greenlight a DC Universe movie centered around the Batman villain Clayface. Yet, that's exactly what the DC Studios head did earlier this month when Gunn recently explaining how the project came together. Okay, speaking with IO9, Gunn revealed that Mike Flanagan's Clayface has been in the works at DC Studios for a while, even though the trades only learned of the project at the beginning of December. I didn't plan on making a Clayface movie, Gunn admitted. Mike came in, he pitched this wonderful idea. I was like, damn, I can't believe you got me to want to make a Clayface movie. But he got to write the script, and who knows how that's going to work. He goes and he writes the script. First draft is great. Second draft is even better. And then I'm like, let's do it. So we found a place for it because if there's quality stuff, we can find a way to work it in. Oh, this fucking guy. Okay, so do you see what's going on? Do I need to explain it for the people? James Gunn said when he announced a Clayface movie, which we were all like, what? What? A goddamn Clayface movie? That's stupid as hell. I mean, that was my reaction. You know? Produced by Matt Reeves. What's that about? What the hell? Might have the first appearance of the DCU Batman in a Clayface movie? Did you not see what happened with Morbius? Did you not see the Craven, the animal rights activist? Like, what are we doing here, right? That was my reaction. So Gunn was selling you and I on the idea of this Clayface movie being so important because it was a Mike Flanagan pitch, and his script, not only his first draft, but his second draft, were so good that they had to make the movie. So now they're doing a page one rewrite on the movie that only exists because you greenlit the Mike Flanagan script? What? Okay, so what's going on here? Well, the truth is we don't know for sure. Could be a Warner Brothers thing because there have been a lot of reports that there's maybe some trouble in paradise over there. Maybe the Superman screening was not that great, and maybe people at Warner Brothers are super concerned about James Gunn, some of the shit he's doing. That could be a possibility. This could be some Game of Thrones shit. I mean, recently, DeLuca and Abdi, there was literally an article in the trades about how they basically had to pack their shit up. And then Chicken Jockey happens. And then Sinners happens. And now all of a sudden, maybe they don't need to leave the building. We've heard that there could be some political Game of Thrones level things happening behind the scenes with James Gunn and DC Studios and DeLuca and Abdi. So that's kind of interesting. That could be what's going on. This could also be the path to this movie never happening. You know, some of you guys talk about the studio, and yes, I watched some of the episodes. I don't really like it, but I do admit that it's kind of interesting within the studio show. You know, you see how political Hollywood can be, where a studio might even buy a script to actually kill a project, ironically. So is that what is going on here? Is this a way for Warner Brothers to intervene over the top of Gunn and get him to try to drop the project by eliminating the only reason he signed on? I don't know. I got to tell you, though, it's just more chaos and goobly glob from Warner Brothers, man. Warner Brothers, I mean, they're still Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers gonna Warner Brothers. And they won't even warn a brother. So it's tough. I don't know exactly what it means. But I will say this. Sometimes good things happen for the wrong reasons. And ultimately, they should not make this goddamn Clayface movie, dude. There's no way we should be making a Clayface movie in the DCU. I'm sorry. That ship has sailed. There's at least enough general comic book fatigue to make these people, or you would hope, make these people realize you can't take your favorite CD level character from a one shot here, this, that, second, and a third back of the comic book shop type of thinking. People don't care. Like, bro, yes, it's cool to you. And maybe 5-10 years ago when the genre wasn't flooded, you could have done that and made a mark for yourself. Those times are over, I think. So, yeah, hopefully this actually turns into an outcome where they don't make the Clayface movie, because they shouldn't make the Clayface movie. That's a stupid fucking idea. Don't make this movie. So even though this is just still more signs of the turmoil and maybe some really bad things going on behind the scenes, and it's ironic because it's another example of Gunn getting caught with his foot in his mouth, looking really foolish. With all of that said, if this leads to a scenario where there's no Clayface movie, that's a W. Like, plain and simple, man. That is a W. And so I hope that's what it is. I hope that's what's going on. Because, look, Superman, I mean, we're going to see soon. New trailer soon. Still don't have a lot of dialogue from that movie. A lot of concerns of tone and stuff like that. But, you know, hopefully it's good. And hopefully Gunn has adjusted it and it's going to pop off. Supergirl seems really cool. I'm genuinely excited for that. That looks really fun. Lanterns looks cool, though we don't know too much about it. Just looks to be competent, have good people, and I love the Lanterns. So just don't screw this up, James. You know what I mean? Like, please don't screw this up. And let the Clayface thing go. That's my advice. Fuck it. Get it out of here. Okay. Now, one last thing before we get into Q&A here. One last little thing. I want to talk about Spider-Mans. So right now there's a thing going around because of Alex Perez, and Alex Perez said something like, basically he implied that Spider-Man 4 could be a prequel to Doomsday. And I think he's still talking about this a little bit online and all that, right? And so let me just say that's absolutely possible. I don't believe it, by the way, but that's absolutely possible. Maybe that's what it is. And also, maybe it could be cool. Let me throw something at you. I don't like this prequel thing. I don't like the prequel idea. But if in Doomsday we saw Tom Holland in the symbiote suit standing next to RDJ, like he's already Darkseid and he's already working with RDJ, and then I have to learn of why and how that happened, then a prequel could be really interesting. I think part of the reason the Star Wars prequels work is because, like, you're set up knowing it's tragedy, and it's all about watching for the signs, trying to see how that fall happens, right? So something like that could be cool. And to be completely fair to Alex, this actually does correspond to something Jeff Snyder had said recently, when Jeff Snyder had said that he thought Doomsday and Spider-Man 4 were happening at the same time. That Tom Holland is not in Doomsday because he's in Spider-Man 4, and that story is happening congruent to Doomsday. They're happening at the same time. And so you have two pretty reliable people both reporting that the timing within Spider-Man 4 is not going to be as simple as Doomsday and then Spider-Man 4, right? So there's smoke. There's a lot of smoke there. Now, I will say I spoke to some people that told me that's not what's going on. So for what it's worth, very reliable people have told me that Jeff is wrong and that Alex is wrong. I don't know what to believe. I haven't made a video on this because I'm kind of waiting for it to shake out because they're going to make these fucking movies. So we're going to find out soon. And so you have really good, reliable people on all sides of this thing. And I'm just not sure which way it's going to go. You know, I think there's obviously something really weird about Spider-Man 4. Perhaps that's the Battleworld thing. You know, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's technically a time that's a prequel to Doomsday, but happens after Doomsday in a new universe that has reset the universe prior to Tom making the wish or something like that. So there's like all sorts of ways this could work. And everybody's right. I just don't know what it is. So I you know, that's about all I can say about this right now, but I know a lot of you guys are curious about it, so I wanted to chime in. And at the very least, I can say I have had somebody tell me that that is not true. I don't know what it means. Sounds complicated? Yeah, the whole thing sounds complicated, if I'm being honest. So we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. That's your news. That's your news today. Yum, 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 yum. You've been fed. Now, let's break into Q&A. I'm sure there's some thoughts, comments, concerns in the chat. We'll go over the super chats, member chats, and I'll hang out in the chat as well. Yeah, like I said, too, before we get into that, the only other thing I'll say is tonight at 7:30, We're going to do a members-only stream. And I have to confess some things. I want to talk about the new direction for maybe the channel, maybe for me as a content creator. Some big changes, some bad news, but also some good news. So we'll talk about that tonight at 7:30 p.m. Other than that, chill-ass week, baby. Chill-ass week. Okay. Let's begin. Rossi is first in today with a rose sticker. Appreciate you, brother. Shalami Leaner says, just saying, Superman is coming out in a month and 2 days, and there has been 2 trailers and 0 marketing. What's going on? Well, there's been 1 trailer, actually, and there's been the behind-the-scenes footage or whatever. There's a couple Sizzler reels, and this was starkly apparent to me when I watched Thunderbolts, actually. Because you saw the second Fantastic Four trailer, and then you saw the first Superman trailer. And I was like, yo, what? Why didn't they show the second Superman trailer? And then I realized there is no second Superman trailer. So what's going on? Well, there are a lot of theories. I think it probably has to do with this marketing guy that they hired, used to work at Disney. And I think the marketing guy is like, don't show them the movie. So we'll see. We'll see. Joshua Kemble says, who's stronger, Superman or Sentry comic versions? Ooh, this is a great question. So interestingly enough, Superman actually has similar powers to Sentry. I know people don't necessarily believe that, but that's actually true. So like, for instance, can anybody explain to me how Superman flies? So the actual explanation in the comics is that around Superman, he is manipulating reality. I know that sounds crazy, but that's actually what it is. Because there's no propulsion. There's no way for like your muscles to, create momentum or anything like that. He is literally using metaphysical, reality-changing power. That's the actual canon explanation for it from people like Grant Morrison. So Sentry and Superman are actually very similar. And there's a story called, I think it's called DC A Million. I forget, Justice League A Million, maybe? And it's after Superman spends 1,000,000 years inside the sun. This has to do with All-Star Superman, spoilers, but after All-Star Superman, he goes into the sun and he has to like save the sun by like becoming a battery for the sun. Okay? So after 1,000,000 years inside the sun, he's so powerful that he makes himself a golden body. He brings Lois Lane back to life and gives her a pure silver body. He's a god. So that's like, basically this implies that Superman is actually like, sure, he's just Kryptonian and it's the sun and he's like, oh, the Man of Steel. But he's actually similar to Sentry in powers. Now, having said that, if you're talking base level Superman versus Sentry, I don't know, you're probably going to have to give it to Sentry. But if it were like real or whatever, you might be able to give it to Superman. I would also say that Sentry, his big problem, of course, is that he's fractured. And if you attack his mind or whatever, you could like break him down and get him to snap and stuff like that. And Superman should be a little bit more put together. So yeah, Superman is actually very similar to Sentry. It's a good question. Joshua Kemble Bluegrass says, Elden who? Never heard of it. You must not be much of a video game player, man. I mean, Elden Ring is... I frankly feel like you'd have to be living under a rock to not know what Elden Ring is, but that's all right. Joshua says, if Star Wars, DC, and Marvel ever die, I'm done with nerd shit. I don't think they'll ever die. I just think it might be the case that the zeitgeist moves on. Meaning, Marvel's been around for 75 plus, damn near 80 years, right? Maybe it is 80 years this year. There have been really low and bad times within that 80 years. So there were times where Marvel was like dead to most people, but it was still around. and it still had value. So I don't think Marvel's ever going to go away like completely. I don't think Star Wars will. I don't think DC will. But it could absolutely be the case where like we settle into a world where Marvel movies cap out at like 400 or 500 million, and the video game movies are making billions, and those are the movies that people are really excited about. I actually think that's possible, and that'll be Warhammer. Warhammer will be the next big thing. So anyway, Broman Reigns, welcome to the Nerd Vengers, baby. You are a Nerd Venger now. Joshua says, I'd rather move on than get caught up with a new franchise. That's your prerogative, brother. I like it all. And as a connoisseur of nerdy things, I want to see all the offerings, you know? John Cross says, you love Marvel and Star Wars? Since when? Probably since I was very young, man. I have that photo up there on my shelf with me in a Batman outfit. Or no, a Batman shirt, wearing a Captain America chest piece and a Captain America shield. So I've been on this shit for a long time. John Cross says, the IMAX near me finally put in recliners. So I'm going to see Thunderbolts again tonight when the new Avengers movie on Friday. Oh, there you go. Yeah, the seats are maybe the only thing that have actually improved in the movie-going experience in the past 20 years. But I will admit, those seats are pretty good. Kendall says, should have been new Avengers from the start. That alone would have generated more buzz for the movie. If the movie was crap, would they have changed the name? No, I don't think so. So what I would say is, if the first screening or the assembly cut of the film, if they felt like it was just like the Marvel's Quantumania and Brave New World, no, I don't think you do any of this. And again, I think that's actually fair, right? Like, I can see the logic from their end where they're saying like, hey, look, maybe this movie is suffering the baggage of a lot of other things, but we know it's solid and we know these characters are good, so we're going to hang our hat on this one. I actually think that's still a viable strategy. It doesn't mean it's going to work necessarily in the short term, because again, like this second weekend could be like really bad headlines for them, and they will look foolish. Like the degree to which it bombs, they will look foolish. Like, you know what I mean? Like those things are linked. So it's tough, but I still think it's the right move ultimately. Scotty Gomez says, miss y'all. Life has been crazy lately, but I still tune in and check on y'all. Thunderbolts for the win. Hey, man, hope you're doing well. And it's all good, man. Life takes us in different directions. I totally get it. Robin H says, random thought, but do you think RDJ Doom will claim RDJ Tony Stark's daughter as his own? Maybe rename her as Valeria. I really like that idea, and I like where your head is at, but no, I don't think so. I don't think he wants any part of Tony's life. He might use some of it, but I don't think he wants any part of that. You got to understand Doom. I know it's RDJ Doom, but you got to understand Doom. Like, Doom was a god in Secret Wars, and then I think it was like a year or two later, there was this story with him and Valeria. And, like, they're having this conversation, and Doom literally says, I was a god once. I found it beneath me. And, like, that motherfucker believes that. Like, he is so about Doom that he thinks actually being Dr. Doom, just normal, is more badass than being a god. Like, do you understand? Don't get me started on this Doom shit. John Cross says, once Marvel slows down on shows and weaves them into the Marvel movies, they put a clip from the show as the post-credit scene. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I kind of like that. That's cool. Kendall says, it's the opposite of what they... the best shows continued. Character story after Endgames. The movies are not generating more character interest is the issue. Yeah, I mean, I could see the logic of what you're saying, but I actually believe, I understand what Kevin thinks, and I think he's right. So it's a combo, and you're absolutely right in saying that, like, even some of the movie stuff wasn't that satisfying, and these were lesser characters and all that. But I still think trying to make this cinematic universe tell its next chapter 6-7 times a year, not viable. Like, do you know what I mean? That just will not work. Chris Listenfeld with a $10 holla. Appreciate you, man. Says, Iger reiterated this morning in the earnings call about Marvel paring down their output on quality and said that the T-Bolt is the first example of that. Still radio silence on Lucasfilm. Yeah. Yep. All of that tracks. I think if you've been following along with my reporting, that shouldn't surprise you at all. Yeah, they're waiting for Kathy. I mean, look, I'll be completely honest with you. I think Bob Iger is maybe one of the strongest people that wants to go away from Kathy's stuff. And I think he's trying to avoid getting in a public fight with her. And he's just quietly trying to force her out. And then he's going to impose his will much more strongly upon Dave Filoni and Carrie Beck. That's just my prediction. But that's what I think is happening. And maybe that would be good. Because frankly, like, yeah, it might be good. We'll see. Justin Lowe, welcome to the Nerd Vengers. Baby, you are a Nerd Venger now. Kaylin J says, if Marvel wants to make money, squeeze in Doctor Strange 3 and add RDJ Doom, $1 billion. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree, but I think their philosophy is like, we can't do any of that shit. It just needs to be Avengers. And I understand the logic there. Like, I think it's maybe if that had been like, I would love that to happen. And by the way, maybe it still does happen. Maybe they're going to figure it out. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the Avengers. Just focus on those. Just these next two Avengers movies have to bang. So yeah. Scott says, if Daredevil and Punisher are considered Disney Plus level, I missed it. Hang on. Popularity, I'm hopeful we'll still get some cool characters in the shows. Yeah, that's a good point, Scott. Some of those characters that are lesser could be really cool. Like, one I would like is Phantom X. Like, Phantom X is a really fun mutant character, comes out of the Weapon X program. Very wild, really weird power set. Something like that would be cool, you know? Like a character like that. We'll see. John Cross says, they should probably start filming Spider-Man in order for it to be solid. Ain't no way it's coming out in July. Oh, I mean, we'll see about that, man. Even if it got delayed a little bit, it's not going to get delayed out of that year. You know, we've talked about how Doomsday could shift into summer and Spidey 4 could shift into holiday. But I'm not as worried about Spider-Man 4, especially if it is... It might be smaller than we thought, you know? So we'll see. Morphonaut says, you got a package at the P.O. box. You might find some gold in them hills. Hell yeah. Nerd Adventures for life. Thanks for all you do. Hey, man, thank you so much. Actually, it's funny. Lisa's going out to the P.O. box today because we have the sitter here. So I'm locked in on work all day. But yeah, I'll check it out later. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Major Bricks says, if we get a Battleworld scenario, the Guardians versus the Starjammers, Quill versus Corsair would be dope. I mean, that would be dope, but I think there are other things more important. Like, you got to make these movies solid, and the characters have to have good moments. I don't think adding the Starjammers in is going to help us at this point. Maybe in the Mutant Saga, but yeah. Hunter Boy says, are T-Bolt's Dark Avengers? Can you explain? Yeah, I mean, technically, they are the Dark Avengers in the sense that, like, when Norman created the Dark Avengers, he wanted to take the platform afforded to him after he killed the Skrull Queen and assert power and influence over S.H.I.E.L.D., America, etc. So Tony Stark loses control of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. Norman takes over. He changes S.H.I.E.L.D. to Hammer. He reestablishes the Avengers with a bunch of villains. So in a sense, like, what Val is doing is very Norman. Like, it's very similar. But they're just the Avengers. And this is kind of interesting because Sam's Avengers and Bucky's Avengers are probably just going to have to come together. So yeah, that's my best explanation. Just felt like Radin said, my friend tried to persuade me to watch Andor yesterday, and I had to tell him I'm saying no. I'm saying no. For real, I'm worried about nerddom altogether. Yeah, and I think that's appropriate. I think obviously things are weird and fandoms are changing and the studios are not adjusting well. And I think fandom is in a weird spot, 100%. Yeah, Andor, it's funny. Like, Andor was technically trending for a couple of hours this morning, but it was another one of those weird, like it had 22,000 total posts, and yet somehow it's like 20th. Trending, and by probably 9 a.m. it was off the trending chart. So look, a little bit of credit. It seems like there was a pop last night. There was probably something interesting that happened, but I still think ultimately, like, if this show can't trend, or rather, if this show can't hit Nielsen with the way they're releasing it by the end of this month, wow, that'll be one of the most embarrassing things that's happened to Disney Star Wars in a while. So we'll see. Some people like the show, and that's cool too, but like, it is so obviously not a hit. And I think the fact that Disney wants to act like it is, that gives other positive fans ammunition to be like, oh, it actually is a hit. And then it creates this weird fight of like, it's just weird. Like, this isn't what fandom should be. You know, fandom should be more like Mando season 2. Holy shit, I can't fucking believe this. Everybody's on board. That's what it should be like. Let's see here. Nerdy Mastermind says with a 10 spot, I don't see how the Clayface rewrite is a bad thing. And horror is literally the only genre that people actually want to show up for outside of the big blockbusters. So I think a DC horror movie is a good idea. Well, first of all, I would just say, like, you know, we don't have to agree. You could feel the exact opposite of me on every single point, and that's all good. The Clayface rewrite is a bad thing because the Clayface movie was only greenlit because of Mike Flanagan's script. And it's a bad look because the president of the studio said in an interview that the first and then second draft of this script is the only reason this movie exists. And so the fact that it's now getting a page 1 rewrite by a different writer is a bad look. So that's what it is, man, you know? Space Trick Serial TM says, not gonna lie, did not care for T-Bolts. Needed more Sentry than 30 seconds. I'm actually surprised on how much I like Tales of the Underworld. Imperial Knights, best faction. Ooh, dude, Imperial Knights, they're looking pretty good these days. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I really like Tales of the Empire, or Underworld, by the way. I watched it twice, and I just enjoy it. I just like Filoni Star Wars, you know? And I think it's actually doing pretty well. Like, it's number 1, or it was, on Disney's top 10 chart, which is kind of crazy. So good for them. And yeah, I think it's cool. And then you followed up and said, Yelena carried T-Bolts, but I felt like it should have been a show the whole time instead of anything else Disney Plus made. T-Bolts should have been a series. I agree that it feels small. The movie feels small and low stakes, despite being about maybe one of the most powerful, dangerous characters in Marvel. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of tough, right? I actually fully understand what you're saying, and I think that's something that Marvel should think about too. You know, like, this is how your fans are actually feeling. Let's see here. Jordan says, started solo leveling season 1 because of you. Not too bad. Oh, hell yeah, dude. I love that show. Can't wait for it to come back. Scotty says, Josh, is New York still, for Secret Wars still on? Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be New York, but we're going to rent out a theater for Secret Wars, 100%. 100%. Braden says, behind on the stream right now, but chat needs some energy. Elden Ring movie with Garland directing is nuts. People don't get how popular From Software games are. Yeah, I mean, I did my best to try to explain it. Yeah, I think a lot of normies might not understand it. The gaming community is going to go nuts, dude. I saw a post on Reddit, which is actually probably the reason that all these articles got pulled. I saw a post on Reddit with like 16,000 likes talking about this. Like, in certain circles, Elden Ring is like one of the biggest things in the world. So, yeah, like, this is a big deal, bro. It's a big deal. Just felt like Radden says, I am seriously worried about Marvel and Star Wars. I totally agree with your previous take that it's embarrassing to like Marvel or Star Wars. Nerd Vengeance for life. Yeah, it is that's a dangerous thing that they need to think about. But again, these things are cyclical. So it's happened before. And yeah, it just might be the case that they have to weather that storm. My advice to them would be just hold the L. Stop trying to make it seem like everything's the hot shit. Like, no, you're just like, you should just settle into comfortably being like, we're totally focused on making the best, most incredible experiences for the fans. And we lost some focus, and we're focused again. Like, that's what it should be. It shouldn't be like some of these other tactics. Shub says they could do more animated Marvel things in Disney Plus shows that are really good. It has more freedom and costs barely nothing compared to live action. I don't think you're wrong, but I think that so you're not wrong, but you have to understand what is the philosophy, like what is the actual change. And the change is that platform is no longer the place to push the big Marvel stories with the important characters. Like, that's just what it seems like they're doing. So whether it's animated or live action, like animation like X-Men 97, I think is actually the way they should go. Completely disconnected from the MCU, so therefore it can be really fire. And even the Spider-Man show benefited from that. So that's, I think, what they should do with the animated stuff. Let the shows be little sideshow things. Maybe find some cool angles and do some cool stuff for super cheap. And then make your movies complete spectacle with fun characters and build a nice narrative long term. That's what I would say. All right, guys, let's hang out in the chat for a little bit. What's on your mind? Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns before we get out of here? Anything else fun going on in the nerdy world out there? Let's see. Let's see. Have I tried Expedition 33? No. And that's because I've been playing Soul Frame. I got into the Soul Frame test, and that's been fun. And then been playing a lot of Warhammer. Just felt like Ryan says, also, did you see Charlie Cox was on Kimmel last night? I did not see that, actually. Did he say anything cool? Did he say anything cool? Where's KOTOR? Oh, I have no idea. What's going on with Sebastian Stan? He seems so sad lately. I have no idea. I have no idea, man. Josh, you see the new Knight Bodyguard? Yeah, I like it. With the shield generator. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. Yeah, the Exodus, that's probably correct. That's probably why they scrapped it. They decided, no. What Warhammer do you play? What do you mean? I play the tabletop game, mostly. I mean, I played Space Marine 2. I like it. I played Chaos Gate, Demon Hunter. That game's sweet. I played Rogue Trader. But I'm talking about the actual tabletop game. C-Dub says, maybe a hot take, but I think all of Marvel Disney Plus content should be animated only. Leave live action for the movies. Ooh, I don't hate that, to be honest. I don't hate that. That could work. Am I getting a haircut today? No. No. Josh, can I get a yeah? No. No, you may not. Oh, Zach, that's tough, man. Did Zach have a loss in the family? I didn't see it. Ooh, that's tough, man. Lost your dad this morning? Ooh, that's tough, brother. Yeah, you're going to need to take some time, man. Don't try to fight it. Just mourn it. You know? That's tough. Bro, why is there so many ads like every couple of minutes? I don't think that's even true, dude. Is anybody else having a lot of ads? Because is there a setting or something? I don't even think that's true, though. Van Off the Black says, Disney Plus doesn't have Netflix street cred, so honestly, I think they need to abandon the shows. Legion is fire and would have popped off on Netflix. That's true. Yeah, brother, nobody's getting any ads, man. Are you resetting it? Are you refreshing or something? Like, I don't know what you're talking about, brother. I haven't gotten a single ad. Yeah, I don't run ads during the broadcast. That's crazy. What's up with all these ads? What about the ads? Depends on the medium you're using. YouTube, Nintendo Switch pumps ads into streams. Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Wow, wow. Yeah, there should just be one ad at the beginning of the stream. And then if you refresh or you skip ahead or back, like you might get another ad. I'm not really sure. Hey, we love you too, Zach, man. Take some time, brother. We're here when you need us, but he's actually upset that there isn't more ads. Yeah, there's a big button right here. I could add an ad right now if I wanted to. And now I'm getting pissed. Now I'm actually thinking we should do ads every 2 minutes. Expedition is game of the year so far. I've heard incredible things. Yeah, I've heard great things about it. Happy birthday, Josh. Nerd Adventures for Life. It's not my birthday, but thank you. Marvel Comics renamed the Thunderbolts to New Avengers for upcoming runs. Really? Oh, boy. TLDR, the Warhammer update? No. No, I don't think I will. Thoughts on the GTA 6 trailer? Looks incredible. GTA, man. GTA 6. Looks incredible. It kind of broke the internet, huh? Yeah, jiggle physics. Hey, you said it, not me. What other franchises are you keeping an eye on outside of Warhammer? I'm interested in the Gundam stuff. I'm interested in the Magic the Gathering stuff. I'm interested in Elden Ring. I'm interested in what Nintendo's doing. I'm interested in a potential, what's it called? Akira. I think the Akira movie might still happen, and I'm interested in that. Yeah, I would say probably those franchises mostly. That's what I'm kind of looking at. I subscribed to you on YouTube because F ads. Oh, okay. Chicken Jockey. Oh, okay. Not today, but I've had an ad pop up in midstream before. Oh, wow. Huh. That's pretty random. Taika Waititi, he might do Akira. I think he'd actually be a good fit for Akira, but he has to be a little more serious. Will KK actually leave Star Wars and go to Warhammer before GTA? I bet if KK even got close to whatever office in Amazon or whatever that they're working on, he might like literally run out and like DDT her or something, you know? Taika he was rumored to be attached to it a long time ago, yeah. What do I think about the newly announced Microsoft handheld? I have no idea what that is. Akira. Akira is incredible, dude. If y'all have never read it or seen the movie, it's good. Go see Chicken Jockey? No, I'm good. I'm chill. I'm good on that. What do you know about Henry Cavill in Voltron? I've heard some things, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not. But yeah. Okay, gotta run, C-Dub. Gotta go be the parent, you know? Josh doesn't want to see the Minecraft movie because it's too good. Exactly. Exactly. What was your Thunderbolts rating? I'd probably give it an 8.5 or a 9, dude. I really liked it. Berserk goes hard? Yes, of course. Berserk is incredible. Warhammer is his priority. Yes, Warhammer is his priority, but I think Henry's smart enough to know that any social capital he can continue to get as an actor would probably just help his Warhammer stuff. And I think he's also poaching talent. Like, I deadass think he is doing Highlander because he wants to be with Chad Stahelski for like 3 to 4 months and he wants to sell them on Warhammer. That's what I think. Rossi says, had a long and out of the ordinary day yesterday. I woke up feeling out of it. Heard your voice with the start of the stream. Immediately cracked a smile. Thank you for being you. I felt better right away. Oh, thanks, man. That's nice. Appreciate you. Isn't the next wait, what? Yeah, that's what I'm. Is this thing on? Yeah, he's in Highlander. Yeah. Yeah, Warhammer games on the set. Yeah. Will the Silver Surfer die, or is she going to be in Avengers 2? I don't know if I want to answer that. I don't know that she'll die at all. We'll see. We shall see. When's the Rivals tournament? We could talk about that tonight. I would say the earliest we could do it would be like next Saturday or maybe the Saturday after that. What's Akira about? Oh man, it's hard to explain, but it's about young people in biker gangs in Neo Tokyo. And there's a group of scientists that are working on like mutant genetic research, almost like X-Men type shit. And one of the people breaks out, and one of the random bikers has an interaction with one of these like X-Men people. And then that biker kid begins to mutate and get crazy fucking metaphysical power. And chaos ensues. It is one of the greatest stories ever told. Incredible manga by an absolute master artist. Great characters, great pacing, absolutely insane allegories for war, spiritualism, religion, metaphysics, all sorts of stuff. It is a mind fuck. It is great. It is great. And it's a rare example of, because he wasn't done with his manga when he made the movie. And so ironically, it was a situation where he makes the movie, which I think was like, 94, 97? He makes the movie, and then he finishes his manga, and he actually made a way better ending in the manga, because it's almost like the movie showed him some of the gaps, potentially, in the story. So then the manga ending is so much bigger, crazier, and more involved, and it's great. Are you going to get Liam into Halo? I mean, yeah, I would definitely try to play some Halo with him. You know, Liam's been starting to branch out a little bit. So recently we watched the Lego Batman movie together. He really liked that. We watched Tales of the Underworld. He really liked the lightsaber fighting. We watched some Wallace and Gromit last night, which was kind of fun. So he's branching out a bit. But look, he likes Bluey. He likes all these YouTube things that are like educational. But he likes it, and he likes to like repeat, and he likes to know the answers to things and stuff. So, yeah. No, Justin, I haven't made it yet. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'd be too difficult to make it, and I was trying to give people time on the new ranked to rank up a little bit too, but no, I haven't really made it. That'll be easy though. The hard part will be like organizing, and then, you know, doing the actual stream. Yeah, you should check it out, Nico. It's great. You should watch your own streams with him. Nah. Sometimes he'll watch them, though. You should do more anime and manga content. I love anime and manga. And you know, look, I'll talk a little bit more about that tonight, because, you know, I'm pivoting into Warhammer pretty hard. And look, I love manga. I love anime. Maybe I could have pivoted into anime, and maybe that would have even been potentially a smarter move, because I think anime right now is maybe more popular than Warhammer. It's hard to say. But at the end of the day, I just love Warhammer more, and I'm obsessed. And so I will be able to make more passionate content, and I'll be able to not get burnt out if I make content about the stuff that I love, you know? And that's Warhammer. Just is what it is. And if you don't know why, or you're curious as to why, don't worry. I'm going to make a lot of content about that in the next couple of years. So I love all this stuff, though. I mean, I like being a nerd, man, and I like history. I like deep diving. You know, I like learning. So, yeah. Yeah, Aaliyah, I totally get it. My thing is, and I think there will be, because I'm going to still do streams. I'm going to still do Den of Nerds. It just might be the fact that I literally might not do as many big videos on the main channel that are Marvel and Star Wars. We'll see. I mean, saying that, but also, like, there's just so much coming out, right? So I'm obviously going to cover all the big Marvel movies and the X-Men stuff I'm excited about. But yeah, it just might be the case that, like, I won't be doing that as much, and I'll just be doing a bunch of Warhammer stuff. And, like, look, some people are just not going to follow along or be interested or curious, and that's absolutely fine. Like, that's just life. You know, like, at the end of the day, it's not that I don't care. It's more the case that I can't let that stop me from doing what I know is right for me. You know? And part of life is, like, it's funny because, like, you know, we work hard to, you know, make money so that then we can live, right? But these days, most of the time, and most people in the world, unless you're in, like, really, really high, you know, if you make a ton of money or you have a lot of assets, most people in the world work a shit ton so that they can survive in a life where all they do is work a shit ton. So it's not a great thing. One of the only ways you can get some of that back, actually, is to either work less or work in a way that doesn't feel like work. Right? So with Warhammer, I can do a bunch of content and spend time, and yet it's not going to feel as exhausting. It's not going to feel as much like work. And that's an important part of life. You know, sure, you should work hard and you should be successful. But, like, if you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, even if you're making $400K, if you do the math, you're not really making that much more than, like, the average person that works 20 hours a week. It's just at a different scale. And more importantly, you don't have a lot of the stuff that makes life awesome. Like time with family, time with hobbies, time just relaxing, being entertained, and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, you obviously need to provide and you need to make money and everything. But I think there is a conversation to be had where, like, I remember when I was trying to go full-time on YouTube, right? And I said to myself, even if I make half the money that I'm currently making, but I don't have to be doing stuff I fucking hate every single day, that's a win. Like, literally, think about that. If I were to make half the money, but not hate every single day of work, then that's a win. So when you think about, you know, your own life, your own happiness, what are you doing with your time? There are obviously considerations. You have responsibilities. If you're providing for a family, like, you got a lot of responsibilities. But you also owe it to yourself to, like, have a life worth living. You know, I forget who said it, but, like, somebody once said, the ultimate sign of intelligence is, are you getting what you want out of life? You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of people work really hard at all sorts of jobs. And a lot of people actually might even think that they're really smart because they're making more than the other person that's also working really hard. But if you're not actually getting what you want out of life, are you really intelligent? You know what I mean? Like, I think that's really the ultimate conversation. Joshua says, Disney Star Wars greater than Warhammer, greater than anime. Oh, my God. And then Zion says, I want to get into Warhammer. What should I buy first? I wouldn't buy anything at first, man. I would watch a bunch of Warhammer videos. Because your first Warhammer purchase will be a regret unless you fully understand. I mean, unless it's a book, I guess. Like, you could buy a book, buy some comics or something, or buy like some... Like, I wouldn't commit to any game pieces. I would not commit to buying anything that you think you're going to then build and paint right away. I would learn a little bit more about it before you make that commitment. That's my advice. How do you feel about Ben Affleck saying anything is possible when it comes to returning and being Batman again? Would you be up for seeing Ben as Batman? Absolutely. I think like almost like a version of Logan, right? With Ben Affleck's Batman? Oh, hell yeah. Does he lease a game with you? Yeah, but I mean, she's not really into Warhammer, although there's a Warhammer RPG that's coming out, like Dungeons and Dragons, and I think we're going to try to play that together. But she loves Magic the Gathering. We've played Magic the Gathering together. We've played D&D together. So, yeah. How do you feel about some softcore NFL cheerleader content? I have no idea what that is. Don't buy 3,000 points of Tau to stick in your closet. Exactly. Yeah. That's good advice. Yeah. Space Marine versus Master Chief. Oh my God. Master Chief would get so fucked up by a Space Marine. It's not even funny, dude. Like, terrible. All right, guys. Well, look. Hey, that's a good show. You know what I mean? Everybody's all mad because I want to make some Warhammer content. Well, guess what? You just got a really goddamn good show. Okay? An hour and 40 minutes of a really good show where we talked about all the things you want to talk about. So thanks for being here. In all seriousness, I thought it was a good show. A lot of things I'm excited about. I think the Elden Ring thing's good. I think DC continues to be a joke. I think Marvel's in a really, really tough spot, but they have a plan, and I actually think some of these changes are good. So I'm kind of hopeful about the Avengers movies and everything moving out from there. So, yeah, good things. You know, hopefully we hear more about the Spider-Man stuff soon. We shall see. We're going to find out. And we're going to find out together. As I always say, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Leave. Another happy landing. When is next stream? Tonight at 7:30. And then tomorrow at 11. You know? It's going to be a good one, man. Like, tonight's going to be really fun. I think some of you guys are going to be really happy. I think some of you guys are going to be really mad. But it's okay. It's going to be fine. The Den of Warhammer is a good name change. Look, we'll talk about it tonight. We'll go over it. We'll see. We'll see how drastic it's going to get. All will be explained. Hey, look, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys tonight, and I'll see you tomorrow as well. Lots of nerd venging. Lots of exciting stuff to get into. It's going to be cool. And do me a favor. Just one. Okay, two. Open up your third eye. And wash it. You're stinking.